Today we're gonna make this look like this,
but it currently looks like this. Hello and welcome to the shop. I'm Jared and this is the EV1 Warehouse. The Questionable Garage is the YouTube channel. We are back working on V2 and 2. We've got Billy working, Darren's in the background working. It is turning into all hands on deck because there's 1,000 different jobs. But today we're specifically gonna handle a problem and get some parts, major parts put back in. We're not just putting seam sealer and sound deadening, we're putting real parts back on. And this, listen, ice heads, don't tune out yet. I promise this is gonna be helpful. If you have ever turned on your climate control, that blower motor, and had foam hit you in the face, we're gonna help you out today. We are rebuilding the entire HVAC assembly. Billy, you know what HVAC means, right?
Heating, ventilation, air conditioning?
Yeah.
Let's go.
So that little foam, we are rebuilding, replacing that foam. We're getting the car put back together, and we're gonna find out that even though it is for the EV1, it's a whole lot closer to the parts you have on your car. But before we get to that table and that mess of parts,
what are we doing?
we're gonna chase a bunch of holes and studs, and we're going to install that big firewall foam. It's the part that yours kind of stunk.
Yeah, and it was full of black mold.
I don't know how well you can hear, but we're drying. The smell coming out is worse than the worst summer porta potty ever. So I still remember the design team when they pulled 159s, they're like, oh, I don't know if you want that. And they're like, it smells really bad. It smelled like foam. So we're gonna bring you guys into the car and very carefully put a part in. Maybe we'll show you what Darren's doing, or maybe we'll just let Darren keep working in the background.
We're killing it.
Let's get to work. The first step to getting the firewall foam installed begins with Billy and I going through and making sure all of the studs and bolt holes from the firewall and on the firewall have clean threads. Once that foam gets installed, it's going to be almost impossible to properly clean them to make sure we don't have any bolts getting stuck on rust. So while Billy is doing his tap and die dance over on the driver's side, I am modifying a bolt to go ahead and install in that nutsert we installed all that time ago, ready for our heater box. At this point, we are beginning to feel a little bit irrationally excited about putting the foam in. I guess in some weird way, it's making this shell into a car. We've done so much cleaning and small preparation work, but for whatever reason, getting a huge chunk of foam and rubber ready to install makes me feel like we're actually making huge progress. It's something you can see. Lysol bomb. While this is better than what we had, it's not perfect. So we're giving it a Lysol bath. Once that's done, we're gonna hit some contact adhesive to get the foam glued back down in a couple spots. The main thing is you cannot be aggressive with this because it will break and we don't have more. So the biggest thing is we really want to get this section glued back down. But where it is kind of turned to hard plastic, that's how it stays. Guys, seriously, why have you not gotten your Brunt workwear yet? I look back, even not sponsored, the last 18 months of my videos, I am wearing something from Brunt workwear. Factory tours, working in the workshop, it doesn't matter. I'm wearing it. I'd say my stuff's getting worn out, but it's kind of keeping up with me. It doesn't matter the trade you're in. Brunt has a work boot for you. Heeled for ladder climbing, keeping OSHA happy, oil resistant, slip resistant, temperature resistant, water resistant. Seriously, they've got something that's gonna work for you. These things have absolutely exceeded my expectations. The value for what you get is absolutely absurd. And they've got the guarantee. If you get it, it's not quite working for you, reach out to them. They're gonna work with you to make it right. Brunt has quickly become, to me, the absolute leader when it comes to workwear and lifestyle wear. Every product I've gotten from them, I have absolutely loved, and I'm positive you're going to as well. Seriously, my close friends that have bought them on my recommendation Love them. When everything keeps getting more expensive, you need to know you're spending your money wise, and you're going to with Brunt. And if you haven't decided to try yet and you're ready to, if you click that link down below or go to bruntworkwear.com/questionable10 and use that code questionable10, you're going to save $10 off your first order of $60 or more. Links down in the description below. Comment box, you're going to love it. And if you have joined the Brunt Workwear family, comment below, let everyone know how well they're working with you. Your workwear should work as hard as you, and Brunt keeps up with me. They're so fragile.
Jimbo.
All right, we're coming through. Watch the wings.
All right.
Okay.
Gentle.
So,
You want to line up your side first, or?
I think we just kind of just...
I think you need to go more towards you.
Yep, I do.
A little bit more. A little bit more.
There we go. Those holes are starting to go. Those holes are starting to go.
There you go. Right there.
Okay, so this stud it pushes over, and this stud it pushes over. I'm going to start pushing down. And that stud it pushes over.
All right, I got one in there.
Push it back. Billy, look at it.
You think that these all come through like this?
Yep. Because then it ends up kind of like as a foot over it.
Yep.
All right, so I think this will slide it out.
Oh, look, it even covers our sound deadening a little bit.
Yeah, it goes down just a little ways. So the heater core, we'll need those gaskets cut, those slip through.
Now that was easy.
That's probably the easiest part to go on.
Also, dude, I don't know if a mouse ate this or if...
It just chewed up over
No,
time?
if a human cut it, because look how it sits. Just in front of this bolt hole.
Oh, it probably was hand cut to make that fit.
You mean ripped?
Yeah, and then this kind of folds back when the harness comes through. It's funny how this needs to fold. This needs to be on before the harness is through, but then it kind of like you finagle it around. Well, now I think we can start working on the
battery or the blower.
The blower. High five. Wait, through the window so people can see it. That was weak sounding.
Dwayne can fix it in post.
All right, so we have this pile of parts that, believe it or not, eventually is going to be where the AC evaporator and the heater core is going to live. It's kind of a complex mess of parts, but when I talked about that foam blowing in your face, inside any version of a climate control, you're going to have blend doors. That's what's going to make the air blow over the heater, blow over the AC, up to the defroster, not an EV1, down to your feet. And to make it seal when it closes, they use foam, and this foam will always break down. Somehow, despite being exposed to weather, this foam is pretty good, but we're gonna cut it off, blast this part so it's nice and new, and glue new foam on. Also, while we're kind of going through everything, we're gonna rebuild a blend door motor. This little part, I've already got the lid off.
It's an actuator, right?
Yeah, the blend door actuator, the blend door actuator motor. This was used for about 20 years and millions of GMs. When you search this part number, we could go down to O'Reilly right now in stock and buy a new one. I'm gonna go ahead and try to clean and save this one for two reasons. One, the drive on that is metal, where all of your current ones are plastic, even if you bought new GM plastic. And Billy, you looked one of these up. We could get one from the GM dealer. Do you remember what retail was?
100 and...
No, that's the discounted price. 192 is discount. Retail was $372. Well, you could still get one. So we're gonna go through the whole process. We need to take this apart, clean the lithium grease. Also, there is corrosion on all the bolts. So I'm gonna do a fun little trick and use our friend evaporust. We're not wanting to sandblast fully. We're just trying to knock the corrosion off a little bit. So we're gonna put them in our solo cups. And if you ever use evaporust, it's reusable. It's expensive, don't throw it away. Filter it, keep on going.
I'm really excited to straighten out these fins over here.
You're gonna try to play a little bit with your fin comb and see what you can get going on that. Technically, fine, we wouldn't have to touch it, but there's an opportunity to try to make it better. So Billy's gonna play with that a little bit.
And these EV1 radiators weren't used in any other cars.
Yeah, the evaporator and the heater core, unique, could find zero crossover. So we've been searching constantly for all the new old stock we can possibly find, and we couldn't find one for a blower motor. So we got the highest quality of aftermarket units, and it wasn't very high quality, but what did you do, Billy?
We noticed that there was a slight They're not exactly the same.
Yeah, the alignment's a little bit off on the connector, but no, that's not what you did. What did you do?
So, I mean, I plugged the number back into eBay. Last time I did that was a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And this time, what do you know? New old stock.
5 hours away, because this, unlike the actuator motors that were used for 20 years, this is a much narrower blower motor, but someone's sitting on the shelf for 30 years.
They were used in Chevy Suburbans.
All right, so we've got all of our parts lifted out. You can see how your gears would normally stack in here. What we're working on, because this thing's been sitting so long, that's a white lithium-based grease, and it gets really crunchy from sitting a long time. So we're taking it apart, doing two things. We're looking for any board corrosion. Board looks great. Everything is spinning freely, but that crunchy grease, we're using a little bit of electronics cleaner. It's safe on plastic and a brass brush. I'm working on trying to get all of that old stuff off, and then when we go back together, white lithium grease. Holds up, it's not gonna damage our plastic over time. It's just a matter of spray a little, and we're scraping. We're not grinding, we're not putting in a ton of pressure. Kind of like the idea of preserving the original. Slow little process. Clean it the best you can. Again, you see how crunchy that was to push apart. You don't want your grease to be crunchy. You want your grease to be lubey like. Now, something else I'll caution, if you have one of these assembled and you really, really want to try to turn the motor by hand, don't turn this by hand, because you're going to load everything up and damage it. Turn it by the motor. And what's interesting, gear ratios, you see how I'm turning here, how slow everything's turning. It's like those 3D printed projects where by the end of it, the part is barely turning. You know, it'd take 14 million years for one gear to turn. That's what gear ratios do. Use electronics cleaner, not brake cleaner. You don't want to melt your plastic. You don't want to damage any of your PCBs. We're also going to put a very minuscule tiny dab of grease on it. Nice and smooth. Same thing, dab the hole. A little on the gear face. Also, a little grease is going to go a long way. As that spins, it's going to distribute itself really well. Don't go crazy. Boom. So now, freshly greased. We're going to wait for our bolts to finish kind of their cleaning. Put the cap on it. So now that we're all greased, we're going to do one final check. I asked Billy for a 9-volt battery. He's like, but isn't it 12-volt? A 9-volt will work great. It works great for testing small 12-volt motors. If you've got, as Derek calls it, Terminator broccoli injection, you can fire an injector really quick and easy with a 9-volt battery. So what I did is we pulled the plugs off of the board. Make sure you know where they went. So that's positive, negative, positive, negative. Let me just come in here. Actually, let me put my finger there so it doesn't try to spit a gear. Boom.
Spinning.
Spinning, and then I won't run it all the way to the stop because I have the physical stop. And then we'll run it back the other direction.
You reverse the polarity to run it in the other direction?
Just the same thing what the controller will do. Oh, it hit the end and popped the gear, which is better than it stripping things. We hit the stop. But the other reason I like using the 9-volt, if we're running the 12-volt, or if you're using your 14-volt, you know, your Makita batteries, your Hercules batteries, your Milwaukee batteries, that's a lot of voltage. This is slightly less. So if the motor was rusted up and not going to work, it wouldn't run on 9 volts. So it's a really good test to make sure that motor is good. So also it's running. We're getting all of our grease fully distributed, everything cleaned up. So now we know we're gonna be good to go ahead and put this thing together. So ready to reseal. And that applies to millions of vehicles out there, not just an EV1.
Part of putting the blower box together is making sure our hardware is clean. We are soaking each of the bolts, nut screws, and spring clips in a little bit of evaporust to make them look as new as possible. And while that's happening, Billy worked on cleaning out the evaporator and heater core, making them look as perfect as possible and getting those fins straight.
Very little bit of damage on that thing.
That's kind of, I won't say normal, but it happens. We can get a fin straightener, and
Little spider web.
I was about to say that was not Great Pyrenees fur.
No, I didn't get a raccoon fur.
Probably. And then what we'll do for this rubber seal, because it's actually going to work, and I don't think we'll need to replace it, we'll come in with a diluted, not Windex, dish soap for that.
And I mean, like, you could see how this foam is like deformed, just how it was sitting in the car for so long, right?
Well, and it's sealing service. Yeah. So the other thing I'll do too is drop it in and see how well it fits in. That's just 2 pieces of stacked foam. That's kind of funny. I'll let you keep playing with that. I'm getting the ultrasonic ready for the rubber gasket for the blower. And then we got to find all the other foam we were supposed to get.
Oh yeah, and I'll go get the motor down from the top, and then we should have all the components for this box, right?
But not the foam.
But not the foam. But we'll get
get there.
Yeah, probably Monday. Or that's tomorrow.
Now we get to put stuff in. So we've been back and forth on all the rubber we were changing, and we agreed that this is die cut. It's a little stained, but it's very supple. I tried to be prepared.
I thought you were a Boy Scout.
I was, but I retired. Turns out I was never prepared. You know what I'm also realizing is I'm gonna get stopped really fast on this.
Because the blower motor?
The foam. The blower motor, no. I take that back. I think I can get a decent bit of this thrown together. You guys remember? Oh, yeah.
It's weird.
That was a gasket on the outside. I remember taking pictures, but I can't find them. So in your heater boxes, most likely your heater core and evaporator won't be stacked this much. On the outside, this is running a lot of control valves that cut off flow. Thing I found really interesting was the gasket for this was on the outside. So if you remember, if in our foam set, you'll see there's that weird oval box and that gasket that we need to get cut, and then there's just a donut for this one.
It's amazing how clean this thing came out.
The magic of dry ice. Okay, now this is the try to remember all the things and then look at some pictures. This, I think, is the air recirc horn, which means, do I need my metal one already?
This piece of foam.
Yeah, all of that goes on once it's together, so. That's this unit. This goes on here. That goes in there. Oh, sits on top of here.
Oh, and then the blower motor blows right into it.
Yeah, so this is the fresh air versus recirc. So what happens is, when it's on fresh air, it's set and it's going to pull air from here,
the outside,
from that side, and then when you go to recirc, it shuts that door, the shutter, and then it pulls from the inside of the cabin. So that's those parts. So now I'm stuck where I need foam. Yep. So this, Billy. Yep. So that slips into there. That sits like that. And that lives basically
right there.
Here.
And then that says either blow it down or
feet
out.
Which means we're done until tomorrow because I don't have that foam. All right, are you guys ready finally to see how me fixing an EV1 applies directly to your C10, your Toyotas, any 70s, 80s, 60s, 90s car? We've teased it before. It's your blend doors. These are what close and divert air and move air around. And ultimately, when you start getting hit in the face with foam, it comes off of this. So when you take everything apart, it's kind of easy-ish to fix. You get yourself some new foam. We were actually going with a backed sewing foam. This is kind of, we got it from a foam supplier, Major Foam. Same texture, same density. That backing's gonna help it glue. That was just a kind of rough hand cut spot. So I rough hand cut that spot. So I've got my templates for what we need. Then it's this easy part. Knock all of this off because of all the rust, clean it, prep it, and then we're gonna glue it. It's foam time. All right, so we got her cleaned up. And again, since this had an open, we've got that taped off. What do you think, Billy? Does that approve?
Yeah, why do we even need this opening, do we think?
So you can see a part number.
Oh yeah, for the part.
don't. That is legitimately, I think, the only reason why you would have that.
I think you're right, yeah.
So, Super 88 is really good. We are doing max strength 90 instead of Super 88. Anytime you're using a spray adhesive, coat until it's just stringy, coat again until it's just stringy, press. Don't spray and immediately put it on because that will fail and your foam is gonna go where, Billy?
Into your face.
Yeah.
And once you press, don't unpress.
Yeah, just wait and see. So, shake up. This has an adjustable tip. Is your tip adjustable, Billy?
No comment. Looks good.
I'm gonna do that. And then we're gonna clock wipe, Dwayne. Now it's the second coat because it's just starting to get stringy.
All right.
Clock wipe. And now, look, she's tacky. Too tacky. Come on.
Hey, be nice to him.
Oh, come on.
Oh, you missed it?
No, we're good. Maybe a little. Once this is on, then we're gonna press it. Just press, let that dry, and then you trim up your edges. And look at that brand new blend door foam.
Oh, you got the tape on?
Even though we're still waiting on that blower motor to show up, it's the last part to go in. So we're gonna go ahead and get this heater box, AC box, HVAC assembly, whatever you wanna call it, this magical giant box of plastic assembled and ready to go in the car.
We're about to hit a very momentous occasion. This whole time we've been adding numbers and documenting and building spreadsheets. And we're actually to a part where
We're putting things together.
the last thing we want to have happen is, let's say in 2 months, we're looking for something like, we can't find this number, not realizing we installed it a month or two ago. So it's just going through that process of tracking and monitoring. But he's got to modify the spreadsheet real quick because we never had provisions for crossing things off yet, because when we started, that didn't seem like things that were going to happen anytime soon, did it?
No, I need to now figure out how to make that spreadsheet happen.
It's not gonna fall if I go in there, right?
No. We picked you because you're the smaller of the two.
You wouldn't say.
Just a little bit. So we've got the firewall insulation in place. We've played with pushing it around, and either the firewalls were different or that hole got cut a little wrong, because that's where the heater core nipple goes through the firewall. You can see the gasket from the old one, and we have fought this thing. Like, we have pushed this up, we've moved it around, even if we get it there, that doesn't line up. So Billy, do you want to do the surgery? We need to go kind of about like that.
Wide like the original.
Yeah, because that's how I recut the gasket. So you want a better knife, maybe?
Yeah, we might need a better knife. Done.
Like a surgeon.
I used to fix iPhones. All right.
And if you see, well, okay, there. Our blower motor still hasn't gotten here, but we're getting antsy. So,
And like Jared said, you should be able to swap out the blower motor without having to take apart the entire car.
so that stud.
This look, you can see the 159 mark. And then the blower motor goes right there.
I really hope we can manage 3 screws. Billy,
It's coming back together.
is this not like, this is a major component in your car.
Oh.
Is this a high five moment?
Now it reminds you just how far back you sit.
It's coming together. Parts are crossing off a spreadsheet. We've done these little things, but that is a real part going into the car.
And it's clean thanks to Grant.
And a little bit of Robert, too.
With a Robert.
He did a little dry ice.
Oh yeah.
Billy,
Yes.
does that not feel so good?
Look, this spins.
There's a blower motor in there. So much of our first installs was a little riv nut. It was sound dead. Significant, important steps, but these are real parts.
It's starting to look like a car again.
It has a brake pedal. Look, it doesn't connect to anything, but there's a brake pedal. You didn't see me sneak that in.
No.
You got a brake pedal again. That looks really good. So there is one thing though, we have to eventually take it back out because
Yeah, the harness.
and looking at our pictures, I remembered wrong. It turns out I don't have the memory of the elephant. I just look like one.
You do have a really good memory, Jared. I'm not gonna lie.
I remember a lot of things, but the box was out and then the harness went through. And
Harness was the last thing we took out.
the 159 guys, they fought the harness out with the box in. Bless them, we don't have to do that. But we can't put the harness in just yet. We've got some more stuff to do. We're trying to do it this week. But I don't care because we've won. Big time win. Oh, let's try that again. I totally missed. I was looking at the camera more than your hand. It's got the Snuffleupagus horn.
Horton, here's a who.
It's phenomenal. It feels so good building a car. I remember with Dwayne when we were doing the Jeep restoration, like the first meaningful bolts finally going back in.
I just can't believe how clean everything is still.
So much work to make it that way and so worth it. Remember, maybe I need to find a picture for Dwayne to put up where we took parts off and it looked like we've been rolling around in the mud.
Yeah.
Boom. There we go. So yeah, that worked out.
just unscrew it?
Well, now it's, oh yeah, no, it'll still spin. It's gonna be a mess.
Ready? We got another one off. Yeah.
It was rough. And look, we worked on the car and we're clean. It's wonderful.
Even still, you know, a lot of the parts that are in the bags in the warehouse, if we didn't clean them before we bagged them, the bags are filthy.
Well, and what's funny is how somehow the bolts that were cleaned are still getting bags filthy.
Yeah.
But we're making progress on all of it. But this is where we're gonna do something really special and a little bit different. From the very beginning, Billy has made it clear. Ultimately, you want a museum, you want the history of car bearer. And early electric cars, early eyes,
Not just
anything
the
electric.
cars, not just the cars, right? The people, the politics,
All of it. There's
everything surrounding them.
There are so many stories related to it, and we've got something really special. During our last GM visit, we got to sit down with someone who's been a part of GM racing history, still is, but also was a part of the evolution.
A very important part
Very
of EV1
important.
history at GM.
And what I love is as I'm going along, again, I'm kind of in the middle. I like hybrids a lot. I enjoy electric cars. I like loud cars. A lot of people are that way when it really
You love
gets down
loud
to it.
cars.
The engineering people are phenomenal, and we got to sit down with someone really special. So I'm gonna let Billy introduce you, and then we're gonna time warp back up to Michigan, and have a really special interview, and that's how we're ending this wrenching episode. So Billy, who do we get to talk with?
Everybody enjoy this interview with Brandon Vivian, a person who was working at GM in the 90s, an engineer, and he touched every single EV1 that came off the line.
Where did he touch 212? Well, all right, we are in the Estes building, and just like I was talking about in the introduction, everything about cars is there's a story. It's not just a vehicle you see on the road. There's a long history that goes behind that car, and each car has a ton of people there. Well, I've got one of those people, Brandon. Thank you for joining us. Very good.
Nice to meet you, Brandon.
Nice to meet you.
Brandon, I've heard you've been around a little while.
I've been at General Motors for 31 years, so yeah, I've done a few things here.
So 31 years, you probably might have had something to do with the EV1, and that might be why you were invited to come chat with us.
Absolutely. I got hired in to work an electric vehicle right out of school. Since I came here, I haven't worked a day in my life, but had the opportunity to work on the EV1 and be part of that team, and it was a dream come true.
What I find so amazing is as we're going around, the number of engineers that are still in GM from the EV1. Like people kind of found a home and a place and going along. So we see some things in front of us. We've got a lot of fun questions, and I'm sure you have amazing stories. But first, what did you bring to kind of share with us a little bit?
I brought some things that I used to wear. These are shirts. These are from when we were electric vehicle, because then we became advanced technology vehicles when it was just more than EV1. But these are some of the original sweatshirts, that were in the teal green. So either teal with white or white with teal, and all of the stuff we wore had that had that color. So really cool memorabilia there. Then I've got a launch shirt. I really like the tag on this. You saw the overhead shot from some of the marketing material, but this is the walk, listen, walk shirt that said you don't see it coming, or you won't hear it coming, but the electric vehicle's here.
Right.
And then I was the current product engineer for electrical at the plant, and this is a plant picture from one of the first vehicles rolling off the assembly line. So you see all the people in the shot. My head's back there, but yeah, it's so I thought I'd bring that to just show some some of the history here of this awesome vehicle.
It's fantastic, the number of engineers. Like, you can tell everyone who had a hand on the EV1 was proud of it. There's so cool to see so many people, again, proud of what it's green too. I know it's not 212, but
it's a little before, but that's
Yeah.
the Lansing Craft Center. That's where the cars were actually assembled.
Absolutely, yeah.
so
Yeah,
well.
awesome.
Let's go sit
All
down
right,
and
let's
kind
do
of
it.
learn a little bit more about your history with the car, and maybe hear some new stories that no one's ever heard about the EV1. So.
Okay, all right, let's do it.
Yeah. All right, so now we're sitting down a little bit more comfortable because we've got a little bit of time with you and a lot of fun questions, hopefully, and I know you've got to have stories. So we're going to take it all the way back to the start. How did you get involved with the EV1 program?
So I went to Penn State University, and while I was there, I was vice president of the Society of Automotive Engineers, and I was in charge of our hybrid electric vehicle program. And so there was a proposal that we put in to the Department of Energy, and Ford, GM, Chrysler, and SAE sponsored this competition. And we ended up getting a car donated to Penn State, and we converted it to a hybrid electric vehicle. And we happened to be in the pits, and a gentleman comes walking up, had a great conversation with him. And at the end of the conversation, he hands me his business card, and it was Bruce Zemke, chief engineer of the EV1.
Wow.
I wanted to run around and high five, the whole team right when it started, but right after the conversation ended. But right then I knew that this is what I wanted to do. So it was pretty amazing story for me to kind of almost have my dream come true right out of college.
Okay, so tell us then, when you joined the EV1 program, what is your role? You did mention something about touching, the first 700 cars or so off the line. What were you doing?
So initially, I got hired in to be in the electrical engineering department, and I was doing all of the switches. That's what I got hired in to do. And the first day I showed up for work, and I knew about the impact. I knew about the fleet. That we had, or that GM at the time, before I got hired, had out there that they were testing. But when I walked into the door, first day, meet my boss, he hands me off to another colleague and says, all right, get at it. Open the door into the garage like we are in a garage today, and they're sitting there, a red EV1.
Wow.
And I'm staring at it. I must have had this look of amazement on my face, because colleague says, what's wrong? I'm like, this is real. And I knew right there, this was going to be amazing. And they asked me, when do you think it's going to start production? And I got hired in July of 1995, and they said this is going to be a production vehicle for 1997 model year. So a little bit more than a year later, we were going to be in production. And it was just such a shock, but also all right, let's get this done. So yeah, it was super amazing.
from an engineer's perspective, when it comes to the EV1, what made it so different from everything else, that the electric dabbling that was happening and the conversions? As an engineer specifically, why is the EV1 just so revolutionary?
Well, I mean, first, at a very high level, it represents, innovation in an iconic company, and that's the story of America. And it represented to me, what America is. But from an engineering standpoint specifically, it was a tour de force. Put everything you can into a vehicle to maximize efficiency. And, things from titanium bolts to the shape of the vehicle to, the tires, everything about the car optimized for efficiency, even down the windshield wipers. And so that approach and having a team that was super passionate about, changing the world, right? Do something that has never been done before, you get the results that, you see with EV1. And I also think that's why you still see, myself, others that have worked on it, the passion for it, because it really was, an opportunity to demonstrate the best of General Motors.
And with all the innovation that it brought, it was the first of many times we ever see something in a production car. Are there any standouts to you that that we still have in GM cars now in the new electric vehicles?
Well, I think for me, because I moved from working on switches to working on all of the electrical system, and then went to the plant and worked at Lansing Craft Center, and then coming back and I did all the chassis controls. But the rear brake-by-wire technology that's on the EV1, that methodology of controls. I have a patent in brake-by-wire topology that I got while working on the second year of the EV1 that we then took into other advanced technology vehicles. That is still how we arbitrate the torque signals between the propulsion system and the brake system. So all of that work that we did in the late 90s, continues on.
Like what Mike was showing us on the track, when a poorly optimized tune where there was no regenerative and the brakes coming in, that Hummer is directly tied into the EV1.
You need the proper calibration for the right blending.
Absolutely, yeah. And the EV1 had a brake first strategy, so we did friction brake first. But as we were learning through the EV1 and different variants of the EV1 that we never put into production, we switched to going with regen first. And that was then in also the autonomy and the Precept vehicle that we showed, at the 2000 International Auto Show, North American International Auto Show, and that strategy is still there today.
So you've been with GM, again, a long time, a big part of the EV1 project, which meant when it was time for them to be decommissioned, you were there. What was that like for you and the team seeing these things being decommissioned and taken away?
Well, I had to go and take the modules out and, sign that, the modules were removed. But, to me, it signaled a closing of a chapter and opening of another one. As I mentioned, we're doing a lot of other work, at the time, and taking all those lessons and applying them, whether it was Precept or other things. We almost had four-corner, it was called dry interface corner. It was taking the brake system from the EV1 and applying it to a Cadillac, at the time, the new Seville. And I was focused on that. So for me, it was, the engineering is about taking what you've learned and applying it to the next one. So it was more about, just that was a chapter that was closing, but we were all moving on, to other things, including like parallel hybrid truck. We took those learnings and applied it there. So, it's about looking forward. So that's, while that was, the end of the EV1 era, it signaled the beginning of another one.
So very much publicly, they didn't see what was happening behind the doors. That some people, there was a big emotional attachment. And obviously, publicly, there was a huge emotional attachment.
And we are not going to just stand here. We're going to keep demanding that they build these cars again.
Anybody else feel that way?
Behind the scenes, it wasn't, I won't say it's heartbreaking, but you guys were excited to make the EV1 live in different ways, each part of it carrying the whole brand forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why you do projects like the EV1, right? That intense focus and all the innovation that came out of the EV1, we were applying all over. And so, it's exciting to continue, to take that and make a difference in another vehicle, make a difference in some of our customers' lives, create that emotional connection with the EV1. We had an incredible emotional connection with the EV1, but we try to do that now on every one of our new products. Make that emotional connection that people are passionate, they come back and buy another one.
Looking back on the EV1, and like you had just talked about the emotion it really created with people, what is the legacy of the EV1? Why does it still matter today?
I mentioned this, to me, it represents America, but it's when you want to achieve a goal, you don't say why you can't do it. You get a group of like-minded people and you do it. And that's what we did with the EV1. Highly motivated, passionate engineers, and people worked, technicians, marketing, everybody was completely bought in. And to me, it represents what we can do as a company. And when we focus, you can deliver products like that. So one, it's about what General Motors can do, right? And the incredible talent that we have here. Second is it's historical in the fact that at the turn of the 20th century, there were 110-ish EV manufacturers, right? And those slowly gave way to steam and to with Henry Ford and all the industrialization. Kind of going back in time, but at that period of time that we were in the 90s, starting with the impact, it was okay, how can we bring electric to the modern era? And that's, to me, what it represents. It's the first modern electric vehicle, and historically, I think as we look back now 30 years ago, it really was that. And so I think that's its place in history as the first modern electric car.
We've already kind of touched a little bit. One thing we really wanted to try is the EV1 through the Volts, the Bolts, the Hummers. What is something you see from engineering that really is pure DNA from the EV1 that has carried through all the generations of GM electrics?
Well, the regen strategy is one that has continued on, and then I think optimization, how we approach energy efficiency. While the components and technology changes, right? What we could do 30 years ago versus what we could do now, obviously the technology is a lot better, but it's that philosophical approach of optimizing and integrating, and that's something that we do incredibly well at General Motors, is integrate to a singular solution that is almost more than the sum of its parts, but breaking that down into requirements for each component that starts at a vehicle level. That approach still lives on today in how we achieve the range that we have, the charge times that we have, the overall efficiency, while still having great occupant accommodation. So that philosophical engineering approach is still there. So there's so many things that carry on today.
All right, so we have had so many people reach out at the moment that we were, Billy's allowed me to share the 212 restoration on YouTube. What do you really hope through this whole process, the GM visits, and finally driving 212 again? What do you hope people take away from this whole restoration series of the EV1?
I hope they're proud that, this is an American car from an American car company that, represents that point in history that was the best. It was the tip of the spear, right? The pinnacle of electric vehicle technology. And to go back and revisit and celebrate that, I don't think we do enough celebration, just in general. And so to take that and say, this is what was the best, right? And it's a little bit of romanticism, but I think that's needed. Especially, we seem to be, say, very opinionated, right now, but that's something everyone can celebrate and be proud of.
And then how about you personally? When you saw that we were restoring this, and how did you feel about what was going on?
I would say it was trying to contain my excitement. You know, when I worked at Lansing Craft Center, I literally touched every single EV1, the first 697 of them. My job was the current product electrical engineer, and every single one we made sure was perfect before it left the factory. And you know, some of them had some issues that we resolved at the end of the line. Others, we made sure with whether it's water test or otherwise. And it was very long hours, but we were very excited to be producing that. To see one driving around again in outside of this campus is it's containing my excitement is difficult, right? I'm super excited to see that, proud. And just looking at your faces right now is all I need, right? You guys are so excited, and I'm super happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We've asked this question to everyone. When you saw the auction, when you saw it going, what were your thoughts? What were your talks around the team? What were the whispers?
How'd you even find
scenes?
out about it? Everyone has their own story.
Actually, how I found out about it is one of my engineers that works for me is 26 years old, saw it, sent it to me, and said, "Hey, you need to bid." So I registered to bid. It jumped right to 20,000 like immediately. I'm like, wow. And so it was exciting to kind of watch it. And those of us who worked on it were text flying back and forth, right, or Slack flying back and forth of wow, hey, this and that. And so and so that was super exciting. But the amount of and I think it's because of the approach we have at GM here, right? 000 is our vision. EV1 was like at the very front end of 000. But we're so focused on that a lot of our young engineers, the EV1 resonates with them.
I will say, so when we first were getting ready, working together to make content, we hid it away. Was there any worry on the backside of the auction? Like, it sold it, were any of the engineers kind of like, oh no,
where is it going?
Is it safe? What do we think? Or
no, I think it was just excitement and interest. What's going to happen, right? And now you guys have publicized it, so everyone could come along with you, and we all could feel the same way that you guys do. And I think you've done a really nice job of conveying the excitement and and oh wow, the discovery. And so for those of us that were there, it's like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Oh yeah.
But to watch you go through it live it's been a treat. So thank you.
It's been fun finding the notes. Like we were trying to figure, like, why is it 221? And then we realized the right rear inner well had a Sharpie mark where it was like number 40 stack skid. So we realized there was that was the top one of the skid of 40 of the stampings, and they're just written on Sharpie because it was the one on top. There's 40 stampings here. It's fun uncovering all of these things, and you're around when those things were getting written on with Sharpie.
Absolutely.
So why is it 221 and not like the Sharpie marks? Just a VIN number wasn't assigned to the end, and it was kind of a production number. We've been trying to figure that out too.
So material comes in to Lansing Craft Center. The material's not assigned to a VIN. The material gets assigned to the body shop. The body shop then pulls a body number and builds it. When it gets to General Assembly, that's when it gets assigned a VIN. So you could have, at any one time, we could have 5 or 6 bodies sitting there. And then
just how they took the part off the plate, which skid it came from.
And then, then it got dropped into General Assembly.
Very cool. So, we were in archival mode for a long time here, discovering new things about this car and all the damage. We had Jared's expertise to help us take it apart, get really deep into it. And now we're starting the engineering work of putting this thing back together. What words of advice could you give us as we go down this journey?
Make sure every electrical connection is made very specifically. Bent pins are a problem. And you look at some of the connectors, they're cavities of 48, 64. There's a lot of those on the car. As many things I root caused when I was at Lansing Craft Center, bent pins or pins that aren't completely inserted. You're gonna have to watch out. Watch out for those things.
Slide the connector in square. Don't
exactly. And then corrosion, because of the history of that car. I'd look at every single solder on every single board.
Right.
So I noticed you had some pictures of the boards. I'd be really cautious for that because you'll get a resistive short.
Oh yeah.
So that'd be advice I'd look for, those two things specifically.
We were just getting started to rebuild the original harness, and like every green fuzz on every single plug, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's gonna be fun to deal with once you hit another one of them.
So I know you had this excitement working on EVs in the 90s, and you kind of saw the future and you joined this program. When did you realize it had a place in history? Was it before you even started working on it or after the fact?
That first day I walked in the building, and I knew right then that to do the fleets that we were doing with the Impact was interesting, right? It's data gathering. They look like production cars, right? But they weren't. But to take that and flip that to taking all those learnings and making that the production version, which is the EV1,
Yeah.
I knew right when I walked in, this was going to be historic, right? And to be able to set the tone, it's a pretty high bar, right? So
I love a lot of my 90s EVs, and one of the things I love about the EV1 is that it's the only one with cruise control, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Do you remember having that implemented on the car? Or?
I didn't really work on the cruise control, right? I worked
You're
on
switches.
on switches originally, then all the brake controls.
Yeah.
One thing that I had to do is our tires during development were only lasting about 5,000 miles. And that tire was amazing from a rolling resistance standpoint, right? That Michelin provided.
Yeah.
But it
Proxima.
was soft. And the cars were incredibly quick. I mean, I was measuring, 6.5 seconds,
Wow.
0 to 60, 6.7 seconds. But the tire wear was tremendous. So I had to dial it back. And so I was out Milford Proving Grounds dialing back how much torque we would allow. And we ended up with, where the car was, in the 8-second range, 0 to 60. But we more than doubled the life of the tire. So
we can hot rod tune 2 and 2. The components can handle it.
What was it like taking EV1 to Milford back when it was the only EV there?
yeah, it was a head turner, right? Every time one went by, it looked, drastically different than anything else. And it's one thing when you had one, it's another thing when we ended up having, 6, 7, 10, testing everywhere. So it was, it definitely got everyone's attention. And, the other thing, I don't know if anybody else talked about it, but we ran the EV1 as a secret program inside of General Motors.
Yeah.
And that's something I learned the first day.
Until the LA Auto Show?
Until the auto show. And so it was called J-Car Special. So all of my documents, engineering documents, said J-Car Special, on them. So, even inside GM, until we got to the auto show period, we tested off site. We had an electrical lab in the basement up in Pontiac, Michigan, in the old Pontiac engine assembly area. We were, we'll call it hiding in plain sight. We were hiding out of sight, initially. So,
Was there any feature or design aspect of the EV1 that was on paper that wanted to happen that almost didn't make it? The one thing that just kept not working, and it really kind of made it hard for engineers to implement something that made it into the EV1.
I'd say the battery monitoring system. I remember we just kept taking packs in and out and in and out, and Jim Dean, who ran the garage, there'd be battery packs all over, and so getting that running and making sure that we could monitor what each battery was doing was one of those things that was almost didn't happen. And then we took it to the next level when we went to the nickel metal hydride pack. And that leap in technology to go from, initially we had Delco lead acid, then Panasonic lead acid, but to go to the nickel metal hydride car, it was a game changer. I used to drive back and forth to Lansing in an EV1.
Wow.
And you had to hyper mileage it. You were drafting off of anybody and everybody to get back and forth.
Some range. We had some hills to go on as well.
Yeah, yep. And so, when it got down below freezing, the range would drop. It's basically, it was every mile for every match temperature 1-for-1 as you got below freezing. So if it was 20 degrees out, you only had 20 miles initially with the Delco lead acid.
Yeah.
So just making sure that we can monitor the batteries is probably one of the things that almost didn't make it.
Now, you talk about Gen 1, Gen 2. If there was a Gen 3 EV1, how do you think it would have evolved?
Well, if you just look at what we did on the Precept and on Autonomy, those were the next versions. And so I mentioned earlier with the shirts, we went from electric vehicle to advanced technology vehicles because we were not just electric vehicle anymore. We're doing hybrids. So you could get a peek of what we were doing there. We also showed fuel cell EV1s, hydrogen-based EV1s.
You saw those? Did you see the four-seater EV1?
Oh, absolutely. I worked on all those. So we made them run. So that would have been the future, right? So it would have been expansion into some of the hybrid markets, and then
The Roadster EV1 would have been really cool too.
you want a Roadster one?
We saw a model that Jimmy D had posted on
yeah.
Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you involved in any of the General Motors efforts to revive VIN 001 or 154?
So I used to carry a lot of brake controllers with me.
You're a wanted guy.
as we continue to send a handful of vehicles around the country, I help maintain those. I'm out of all the brake controllers that I used to have now. I'm not involved directly. There's an EV1 reunion, 30th anniversary reunion being planned that I'm connecting people
September,
to.
right?
So yep. So I'm involved just making connections, let's say.
Awesome, that's awesome. Yeah. We were super excited to have GM reach out to us, and even more excited when we saw that it was Mark Royce, one of the leaders at this company. How did you feel about seeing that on the inside going down?
For a long time, we haven't really talked about EV1 because we're focused on the future and some of the vehicles you've got to experience. We have an awesome lineup of EVs and ICE products across the board with every brand. But to take a little bit of time and reflect back, it's been I'll say like therapeutic to do it. So Mark does an awesome job of leading us, not just technically, but as the leader and president of the company. So to see his engagement was again, I think something that has been therapeutic and exciting all at the same time.
Is there any one EV1 story, whether it was in the craft center or out on the road, that just comes to the top of your mind when you think of your days with the EV1?
Because we were so advanced, and every vehicle had something that was a little bit different, that had to be resolved, and so each car almost had its own personality. We had just an amazing time getting each of them out the door, at the craft center, but driving back and forth, and because I would drive to Lansing from this side of Michigan, the amount of thumbs up and the stares and people just seeing the future go by, that it made all of the work that we were doing worth it, because you see the reaction. So but yeah, we used to use the VIN numbers. I went back in my files. I don't have anything on 212, but I have things on VIN 31 and VIN 4, and the ones that
that you worked on
were a little more temperamental, right? Let's say as they were coming to life. So it was just that feeling that after 18 hours, seeing somebody's face makes it all worth it.
And do you want to say anything to your old teammates that worked on the EV1 who might be watching our restoration series or anything?
Yeah, look, it was a time of great camaraderie, great accomplishment, and super proud to have worked with all of those people, and to have been hired into General Motors to do that and work with that caliber of people has been a life-changing experience.
Brandon, thank you so much.
Right.
Appreciate
Thank you.
We
Thank
got
you,
more
Brandon.
insight. We're
Yes,
going to have
thank
more
you.
off-camera questions. It's been fantastic. I love, again, cars. The cars are a personality, but the people behind it, and it's loving to hear all the parts and pieces of the people who made it happen. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
We did a visual inspection of all the boards. Everything looks good.
Our goal is to do a switch gang panel to bypass the run shift, and like Billy said, boot some stuff up and then maybe give it a transfusion. And for the first time in 23 years, that motor might turn.